All right, we are back, my friends. I'm going to tell you what, this is important to have this conversation because let's be real. The mentality that's going to be expressed here is something that's not often heard and not often understood. But I think that when you break it down in the proper way and start really understanding what's going on, you understand that these managers that are running things are literally just trying to operate a system. And when they're trying to operate a system, it's not an evil ideology. So let's talk about the Federal Reserve. Let's check this out.
One of the fun things about life in the current, here's my water, in the current era is that we're making it up as we go. So when people criticize the Federal Reserve, I'm like, come on, cut them a break. We've never been at something like this before. So a bit of a backstory. If you go back to the dawn of time, every successful currency was based on an asset, usually gold, sometimes silver, combination of the two, copper, whatever it happened to be. So you'd have your currency, it would be backed up by some sort of physical currency, or physical asset, either in the form of a coin or in a safe somewhere. That's what those of us with a British or a German ancestry, which is going to be most of you, think of as normal and good and solid. And this whole fiat era, we're a little queasy about. But there's one thing that all of those successful currencies had in common. They failed, every single one of them. And they all failed for the same reason. If you have a successful currency, you encourage exchange. You encourage differentiation and labor diversity. You encourage economic growth and trade. You encourage people to use your currency as a store of value. It's more and more and more. And eventually you run out of the metal. So you have to physically expand your empire to get more. And then you start making decisions for your country based on where you can get the metal as opposed to what makes strategic sense. Rome had to go south of the Sahara. The Brits had to have a global empire where they fought with everyone. And all of them collapsed because of the success of their currency. When the world wars rolled around, it's not just that the Americans were the last ones standing. We were the last ones to come to the party. And we told all the allies, we will supply you with anything you need so long as you pay us in gold. And in the two world wars, we emptied out the planet of every scrap of free precious metals that had been mined since the dawn of time. Yeah. And then we launched the order. And we had the greatest expansion in economic activity, the greatest period of peace and prosperity in human history. And within 30 years, all the gold in the world wasn't enough. And so Nixon nixed the gold standard, and the value of the US dollar is based on nothing more than Tricky Dick saying, trust me. That's the world we're in now. We can't go back. The metal doesn't exist. Every currency in the world, directly or indirectly, is based on the US dollar, and the US dollar is based on the full faith and credit of the United States. We're in unknown territory. We have been for almost 50 years. And I think the Fed's done a pretty good job. This is the M2 money supply. From 2000 until 2019, the total money supply roughly tripled. Global GDP increased by roughly a factor of 2. Is that too much? We can make that argument, but it's not egregious. Our only, sorry, let me go back. This is QE1, this is QE2, and that's coronavirus. These aren't very big, and there was a lot going on for this one. Perfect? No. Will that have complications down the line? Probably. Will we enjoy those complications? Probably not. But perspective is important. Here's the here's the yen, Japan, that's the orange, and the euro, gray. Neither of these are global currencies. The Japanese are one of the more heavily manipulated currencies. It's like we're responsible for something like 1.5% of global currency reserves and has almost vanished from international trade. The euro is responsible for 15 to 20% based on which country you're looking at. And ever since the Europeans started confiscating insured bank deposits to pay for the bank bailout so that the taxpayer wouldn't have to, everyone who could get their money out of Europe did. And yet, at a number of times in recent memory, their money supplies have surpassed that of the United States, despite the fact that they're not a global store of value, they're not a local store of value, and they are not trade currencies. That's what bad currency policy in the fiat age looks like. But before you judge the Japanese and the Europeans too harshly, let's redraw this. Here are those three again, and here's China. In an average month, the Chinese print over 5 times the amount of currency that the Federal Reserve does, despite the fact that 99% of the yuan is held within the mainland and most of the rest is in Hong Kong. Not an open system. All for an economy that's, even by the most aggressive estimates, a third smaller than the US economy. So try not to be too harsh on Mr. Powell. He's got a hard job. And I think he's part of a legacy of people who broadly have an idea of what they're doing. And if you think that what the US is doing is inflationary, and that means you should put your money in Bitcoin, oh, baby. So, Bitcoin. No intrinsic value, not backed by a government. One of its selling points is it's available in limited supply. Not a currency of exchange. You can't pay things for it. You can't liquidate it whenever you want to. And 85% of it is mined in China with coal power, meaning that if there's carbon taxes, it has a net negative value. And the people doing the mining are doing it to get money out of Americans so they can get around sanctions. Well, of course it's going to go to zero. Think of Bitcoin like Vegas. If you enjoy trading it, great. Just know that most people will not get their money back. Good times. Okay, so fastest.
This is important to understand, right? There's nothing wrong with making money off of dummies. Okay, legitimately, you know what I mean? Like, you'll never bet against how stupid Americans are, or just in general, the public as a whole. Right. Like, do I own crypto? Of course. You know what I mean? Do I, you know what I mean, make it a major part of my portfolio? No. But I'll be damned if I'm not going to stand here and make money while the money's fucking there to be made. You know, you make hay when the sun's shining. It's that type of mentality. But understand something. When it comes down to, like, the Federal Reserve and these type of mentals, it's important to understand that, like, yo, they're not some shadow agency as an in general thing. They're a trick to fool dumb people, right? You know what I mean? Like, if people are looking at you like you're some evil organization, you know what I mean? Then, you know what I mean? They don't think that you're actually part of the government and all the money on their books isn't actually part of the, you know what I'm saying, your debt. When in reality it is. That's the truth. It's, you know what I mean? Double accounting. It's a really basic thing for individuals who are, you know what I mean, like heavy in economics and understand monetary policy to get all this shit. Right. But, like, understand, like, we're managing a system that's completely unmanageable. And all of it is a complete Ponzi scheme. It is. But, you know, this is the system that was set up. Right. And it was set up to be able to operate in an expansionary manner that had never been seen before. And now we're in another period that has never been seen before, where things are going to shrink on a level that no one's ever seen. So it's fucking crazy what's going to happen and what we're going to be going through. But don't think that, you know what I mean, it's some crazy conspiratorial nonsense. It's just guys who are really, 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 really fucking smart did some shit. And, you know what I mean, people don't want to pay attention to, you know what I mean, boring conversations about economists. It's a tragic thing. It truly, truly is. It's tragic. But it's just reality. Like, when I try to explain about the Laffer curve, people go like, why are we talking about the Laffer curve? Well, because it's fucking important to understand it. Like, yo, when you tax more money out of the economy, you get the same result back. Why? Because you just shrink the economy because individuals don't work when they're overtaxed. You know, you start eating in the profits. It's how it works. Anyway, yo, look, Tom Pease with Pnoid News. Y'all know the situation. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.